All right, so what we're going to do in this video is talk about how we would go from an algebraic rule that's written like in a paragraph form and we make it the shortest possible form of that. And we're counting out the characters. So let's look at the example that we have. So this is the Netflix rule. So right here we have a section where it says to find the cost, multiply. Okay, that I know I can switch pretty quickly into the multiplication sign. Okay, that saves me a lot of characters. By 10, I know I can use that also. And I can just write the number 10. 28, I can write that as 28. So we're getting it down a little bit, right? Now, in math, when we're writing this as short as possible, it's not the same thing as English. So I don't need by the then and I don't need that in this part. So what I'm going to do instead is I've got some of these pieces, like I've got this piece and I've got this piece. Oh, and then the add, that's quick. That's a plus sign right there, right? So I can start, so now I just need this piece and this piece. So because there are these long pieces, this multiply, this add, the 10, the 28, those are symbols already established. I did not make them up. You can see it and you know that that means plus. Now these other parts we don't already have symbols for. So what we can do is create something to represent all of this. Do you know what that's called or what I could use? What could I use to represent all of these words, this topic? What can I use to do that? I don't want to use numbers because numbers are already taken. What can I use instead? Something I can use instead is I can use a letter, which is called a variable. So instead of saying to find the cost for Netflix, I can use just the letter N to represent that. It's a letter that stands for a number. Instead of the number of months, I can use an M to stand for the number of months. So I'm going to do the same thing just here. So Netflix, to find the cost of Netflix, multiply 10 times the number of months. So here's my 10. I don't have to use the times symbol because times might get confusing. So I'm going to just put it next to it because when I have a number times a number standing next to each other, that's what that means, that they're being multiplied, plus the 28. Okay, so I'm saying the same thing here. The Netflix, to find this cost, I multiply 10 times the number of months plus 28. So this right here is missing something to tell me that this Netflix, to get the Netflix cost, to find that, is this amount. What would I put here in the middle? What would I put in the middle to say the Netflix charges, the total cost is going to be this? What symbol can I say to represent that? The symbol is an equal sign. So now that I have an equal sign, that is called an equation. So this equation is the algebraic rule. It tells us how to find, for any number of months, the cost that would be associated with that number of months for Netflix. What's very, very important is that I have to write what this represents. And M stands for the number of months. N stands for the cost of Netflix. I have to put that. Now, notice I did not say NX or NE for Netflix. I didn't use that because every letter in math is going to represent something different. So just the same reason I didn't write Netflix, because every letter in Netflix would represent a different thing, a different variable. Anytime you use a letter in math to represent a number, it's by letter, not by word. That is called a variable. So a variable is a letter to represent a number in math. Every letter counts. So let me see what are some other mistakes that I saw. Some of y'all write, we don't want to do specific examples. Somebody wrote 10 times 10. No, because that would be a specific number, and we're talking about any number of months. I don't want to multiply it by months because that would be like August, September, October, and we're talking about a number. I cannot multiply a number times a word. I don't have to put the X right here to mean multiply because as long as the two numbers are next to each other, that's what that means. What are some other ones that I wanted to bring up? Now let's do the next one. So right here, we're going to say this is the Hulu rule. To find the cost, I'm going to multiply. So again, that's the symbol multiplication. Either I can have them next to each other, or I can use the times. I could also use the parentheses, but which one takes up the least amount of characters? Just putting them next to each other. 17, that's just the number 17. By the, I don't have to have that. Again, here's the section number of months and the cost. Those are not, they're not already pre-made symbols for that you would find in a textbook. The other ones are 17, you're going to find in a textbook. That's been established. For this, what should I use to represent the cost? Again, the shortest form possible. Again, for the number of months, what should I use? Well, for Hulu, I could just use the H. If you want to do C for cost, T for total, you could do any of those symbols as long as you explain to us what those means. I've already used M for number of months, so I'm just going to use it here. So Hulu is going to be charging you 17 per month, and to use the smallest, fewest characters, I'm just going to have them stand next to each other. So I'm just going to have the M stand right there. Now, to say that this Hulu is charging you this much, the symbol that I would use that is put an equal sign to represent Hulu costs this much. And now I have this equation. So H stands for cost of Hulu. M stands for the number of months. And I want to do another example with you before you have to do one by yourself. So here's the example. So Golden Gate charges $8 per passage plus a setup fee of $5. So I'm going to take that and just pretty much rewrite it. So Golden Gate charges this much. So what I'm going to write on my paper is G for Golden Gate charges, so equal to this amount. They charge 8 per passage, so there's going to be my 8 per passage per number of passages. What can I write for this section right here? Per passage. Just say number of passages. What can I use to represent that it's 8 being multiplied by the number of passages? You could use P. And then it says plus a setup fee, so I know to use plus of $5. And 5 is just 5. I don't have to use something to represent the one-time fee or setup fee. I'm just adding $5 to that. So now I'm going to have you do one by yourself. This right here, I would like for you to write an equation for this one, and it should say, now what's really, really important, a couple things that you always tell us what the letters represent. It's really important that you don't, notice here I didn't write NP, I'm just using one letter. And here I should have written G is the cost. Cost for Golden Gate Tollway. See how instead of writing all of this, I could just write the G. That's why we like algebraic equations, because instead of writing all of this and in a paragraph form, okay, like once you're gonna see later, it's gonna be so much space. This saves us so much space just writing it this way. And you'll see other advantages hopefully as we move forward in the semester. A couple things I want to remind you is that page 10, picture of page 10 should be uploaded, a picture of page 11 should be uploaded, and you have a Go formative that needs to be uploaded also. So what I'm going to have you do now is to write an equation for this one.